Hi, welcome. In this video, we are going to discuss reasons for managing health and safety. So, there are broadly three reasons for managing health and safety. These are the moral, legal, and economic. So now, what are the moral reasons for employer to manage health and safety? So the first is the moral reasons are based on the concept of an employer owing a duty of reasonable care to his employees. Then there is an expectation of the society towards the employer to have a correct attitude towards health and safety of their workers. And the third is the expectation of the society towards its contractor and public who may be affected by their work. So an employer can't simply put to danger its employees and workers or contractor because of the reason that they are being monetarily rewarded for the services they are providing in exchange. The employer's activity or process may affect directly or indirectly the health and safety of the public. So the employer has a moral obligation of duty of reasonable care to the society where it is operating. So now, what are the legal reasons for employer to manage the risk? So first is the preventive reason. The enforcement inspector or enforcement agency may issue improvement or prohibition notice to the employer. Next is the punitive. The criminal court may impose fine or imprisonment for breach of legal duties to the employer or individual. And the third is the compensatory. The employer may sue an employer, an employee may sue employer for compensation in the civil court. So no employer would like to get improvement or prohibition notice from the enforcement agencies or inspector, like factory inspector, to correct its health and safety issues arising out of the workplace activities or the processes. It may bring damage to its reputation as well as goodwill. On the breach of the legal duties for undertaking the safe processes for the safety of its affected parties, the employer or individual may get fines or imprisonment. So, the International Labour Organization, abbreviated as ILO, so the ILO's Occupational Safety and Health Convention 1981 C155 Article 16 identifies the duty of the employer towards their employees. The convention is a multilateral agreement between the parties who are participating in the convention, or it may include the international community. So, what are the duties of the employer towards their employees is being governed by this convention. So the first is, as far as it is reasonably practicable, the equipment, processes, and workplace should be kept safe and without risk of health by employer under their control. The second is, as far as it is reasonably practicable, the chemical, physical, and biological substances should be kept safe and without risk of health when appropriate measures of protection have been taken by the employer under their control. And the third is, as far as it is reasonably practicable, the adequate protective clothing and the protective equipment should be provided to prevent the risk of accident or adverse effect on health by the employer. So to summarize this, so the employer has to keep its equipment, process, workplace, and all its physical, chemical, and biological substances uh, in a safe condition. And also, the employer has to provide the adequate protective clothing and protective equipments to its workers and employees to prevent the risk of accident or adverse effect on their health. So now the third is the economic reason for the employer to manage the risk. So in this, the economic reason involves the cost of accident. So the cost of accident can be classified as calculable cost of accident, such as sick pay, repair to the damaged equipment, fines, and legal fees. And the other part is the non-calculable cost of accident, like loss of reputation, loss of business orders, and business interruptions. So the cost which can be calculated could be insured, but not all. So the next uh, category, so the next we can say that the cost of accident can be classified as insured cost of accident and uninsured cost of accident. So according to the UK's Health and Safety Executive's iceberg model, here in the picture we can see an iceberg. The smaller part of the iceberg is above the surface of the water, and a larger part of this iceberg lies under the water. So similarly, the cost of accident can be think as the insured cost of the accident is the smaller part of the iceberg, and the uninsured part is the larger part of this iceberg. So according to the UK's Health and Safety Executive iceberg model, the ratio of insured cost to the uninsured cost is 1 is to 8 up to 1 is to 36. That is, the uninsured cost is 8 to 36 times more than what the cost of accident that can be insured. So now, what are the insurances available which can be, what are the insurance we can do to cover the cost of accidents? So the first is employer's liability insurance, public liability insurance, motor vehicle insurance. So, for example, the compensation claim of the employees, it may be regulated by the existing legislation of the host country. Then damage cover of the machinery, this can be insured. But what about the uninsured cost, like product damage, legal cost, time lost in accident investigation, loss of skilled staff, loss of production time, overtime cost to replace the injured worker, fines and criminal prosecutions, and loss of reputation leading to the loss of contracts. So now we will see what are the societal factors which may influence the health and safety standards. So the first is the economic climate, government policies, risk profile, globalization, migrant workers, societal expectation of equality, and the last, the corporate social responsibility. So let's discuss each individually. So the first is economic climate. So what is economic climate? What do we mean by economic climate? So the wealthy countries may afford to give higher priority to health and safety compared to the developing nation. The wealthy countries may afford to spend more on health and safety and offer a higher budget compared to the developing nation. So the economic climate of the country is one of the societal factors affecting the health and safety. Now the next, the government policies. The employed working age group could contribute financially more than the unemployed in the society. So where when the needs are met of the individual, the lesser they will compromise with the health and safety. If there is a struggle for the basic needs, then there are more chances to overlook the health and safety. The third is risk profile. So higher the risk activity demands, greater standard, higher risk activities demand the greater standard than the lower ones. Then next is the globalization. Business across the world may adopt different standards based on the host country. It may require a business to offer a higher standard of health and safety in some countries which are having a stringent and upgraded health and safety standards. Now the next factor is the migrant workers. The flexible immigration policies leading to the more immigrant workers who can influence OHS through culture and communication. Now the companies are providing employment to the workers from across the world, and most of the workers are migrating from the developing nation to the already developed nation, or the nation which has achieved a remarkable status, we can say. So the workers from the developing nation may not be more matured in health and safety awareness compared to the developed nation. So in this way, they can influence the health and safety standards. Also, the communication barrier. The next is the societal expectation of equality. Now, the companies are employing the disabled person. So the OHS standards for the normal person may not be applicable for the disabled one, like standards for the access and egress. Now the last is the corporate social responsibility. Business should take account of the economic, social, and environment aspects and sustainable development challenges locally, regionally, or internationally. The commerce definition of the business is not only to make profit, but also for the purpose of uplifting the society where it is operating. It should employ the dislocated people affected by the business and pay compensation to their losses like land losers. They should rehabilitate them and educate them to strengthen their livelihood. The damages caused to the environment out of the business process has to be compensated by the replenishments like planting of more trees, shoring of the mines, uh, refilling the open mines, water treatment, and proper waste handling and disposal to prevent the pollutants migrating from local to the international boundaries.